Tamron sent me the 70-300. We're gonna test it out and see how it does. Hey, if you don't know me, my name's Jake and I create content here to help solo creators on the go, people like me who are on the go creating small commercial projects or stuff for here on YouTube. So I test and review equipment here in Alaska, and I do tips and tutorials on how to use that equipment. To begin with, this is a fantastic lens because of the price. It is $549, at least here in the US at the time of launch. Really fast, really accurate autofocus, really sharp, very clean pictures, not a lot of distortion on either end that I've been able to find. The only downsides are low light performance. It starts at f4.5 and goes to f6.3, but even at that, with a higher or a well-performing camera at higher ISOs like the A7S3 or even the A7III, it performs really, really well. But I think the people who would be most interested in this lens would be people who are getting into wildlife photography, especially because it is such a nice, versatile focal length between 70 and 300. It gives you a lot of options for a run and gun shoot, something like this today that hopefully we'll find some wildlife. It's only 3 degrees out here, so they may all be finding some other place that's warmer than right here. But it is a really versatile range for being able to capture the things you want to capture and not get too close to those things. So for example, back there, that is Anchorage. That's Anchorage, Alaska. And behind Anchorage, if you can see it, I don't think you can see it in the video, but I'm gonna try and get a picture of it, is Denali, which is the tallest mountain in North America, 20,320 feet. And then to the left of it is 4Acre and Hunter, also 2 very large mountains. I want to show you what you can do with a 300mm zoom in a setting like this where you maybe want to capture some landscapes. It is really nice to have such a versatile zoom for photos, at least, because you can really get to places that you couldn't with pretty much anything else, having that extra 100mm from 200 to 300. I think the people that would be most interested in this lens because of its price at $549 are people who are wanting to get into wildlife photography, but not necessarily wanting to sink a couple $1,000s into a really expensive telephoto lens. So let's go see if we can find some wildlife. So far I haven't had any luck finding any wildlife, but I think that's probably because it's 3 degrees and very cold. I think most of them are probably finding as warm a spot as they can to bed down. But it is beautiful with all the fresh snow on the trees and the sun shining. So we're just gonna keep going and see what we can find. Well, it's now the next day. Had no luck finding any wildlife, but I came down to Turning It Arm because usually on these rocks up here, there are lots of Dall sheep. And there are, because it's cold, they come down lower to get a little bit warmer. And especially when the sun hits these rocks, it's really, really nice and warm. So we're gonna run up this path a little way, try and take some pictures of some of the Dall sheep that are running around here. Doing this has really made me appreciate how lightweight this lens is. It's considerably lighter than my 70-180, which is already an extremely light telephoto lens. But the 70-300 is much lighter. And even though it's much lighter and it lacks a lot of the features that you'd find on the Sony 70-300, like optical image stabilization, it does a fantastic job. And the image quality coming out of it is absolutely spectacular. Very sharp all the way, edge to edge, very little distortion. And you know, from 70 all the way out to 300. I found some perched over there, sleeping over on that rock over there. I'm gonna take some pictures. Looks like the sun might be coming out, which would be kind of nice because it's not exactly warm out here. It's still only about 10 degrees. But this is a case in point where the 70-300 from Tamron really shines, gives you that extra reach for when you got to reach something that's way over there, but you want to get a fairly close, fairly tight shot of something that's that far away. It's just a single barrel zoom, like the 28-200 had that double action zoom. This is just single, and it's really well weather sealed. So far it's done great, even though I've been out in extremely cold conditions. There's been no issues with the lens at all. And Tamron's construction, even though a lot of people have faulted them for using this kind of plasticky material, but it has lasted so well on my other Tamron lenses, and it has endured a lot of abuse. So I'm not worried about recommending these lenses as far as a long-term investment for a lens for Sony E-mount. They are holding up incredibly well, and I've put them through a lot of stuff up here in Alaska. One thing I appreciate about what Tamron's been doing with these lenses is making them consistent all the way across the board. And so this is the 70-180, this is the 70-300. Both have a 67mm filter thread, so you can use all your filters. That's really nice. They also both use the RXD stepping focus motor, which makes it extremely fast, extremely accurate, and very quiet. So you can use this, either one of these, for video without any issues. Look at the size comparison here. They are just about the same exact size, just shaped slightly differently. You can see that. But this lens is about, well, a little over half the weight of this lens, which is really nice when you're out doing stuff like this. I wish that sun felt warmer. It does not. It still feels very cold out here. After using this lens for video a fair amount, it works really well. Even with the, not quite as great low light performance because of the aperture that the lens presents, with the amount of compression you can get in the background, depending on how close your subject is to you and the lens and how far away the background is, you can get some really beautiful images out of it. And it does have a minimum focus distance of just about 3 feet when you're at 70mm, and when you're a little further away, it's a little further away. But I found that the images this thing produces is just really, really nice. Really, for a lens that performs this well for $549, when the only thing comparable that you can get to it at this zoom range is almost, well, it's double the price, a little bit more than double the price. This makes it kind of a no-brainer, in my opinion, if you're looking for somewhat of a super telephoto or, a lens with a lot of reach to it, because this lens gives you that option. It gives you fantastic image quality, really great autofocus performance at an incredibly good price. Now, when I said you can't use this for video, mostly I was talking about the fact that it's really hard to stabilize without any sort of optical image stabilization, and the IBIS in Sony cameras is not great. But you can get some pretty good, pretty usable shots, provided you follow the 3-point rule. So 2 hands on the camera, put that away. And then using the eyepiece to really kind of plant it against your head helps you actually get some usable, fairly stable shots, even when you're out at 300, or if you use crop mode on a Sony camera and push it out to 450, which I'll show you now. It also doesn't help that the wind is blowing and it's cold. I'm starting to shiver. But as you can see, you can actually get some pretty usable footage out of this lens, even for video, even just handheld. Now, of course, if you locked it off on a tripod, you get some great footage. The strengths of this lens are, it is really quick, super quiet autofocus, great reach, really sharp edge-to-edge performance, very little distortion at any point along the entire zoom range. It handles weather really well. It's durable, because the other Tamron lenses I've had have been extremely durable. It's really light. It's fairly compact for what it does and what you can get out of it. But there are a few downsides. One is, I wish they'd included a locking mechanism, because it does kind of come open fairly easily. That might just be my copy, but at least to mine, it does come open. There's no way to lock it so that it doesn't slowly zoom out. And then it doesn't have the greatest low light performance, but I think that's pretty easy to offset with a good low light performing camera like the A7III, A7sIII, something like that. And of course, the other downside is there's no optical image stabilization. All that being said, for $549, this is a fantastic value for a fantastic lens that I just don't hesitate to recommend, especially if you're wanting to get something that you can jump into wildlife photography, or just get a lens that gives you a lot of zoom range for whatever you might be taking pictures of or filming. If you want to see other lenses that are fantastic for Sony cameras, click or tap this playlist right here. I will see you in one of those videos. As always, if you have questions, ask me in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Or join my live stream Wednesday nights, 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and you can ask me questions there. As it is now, I'm gonna go back to the car because it is really cold out here and the wind is blowing. I'll see you again soon in the next video. Cheers.